All right, so my fiance and I have been together for a little over 2 years. We have a laundry list of issues. Some days are good, some days are bad. It's hard. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells to not say something that he may disagree on or have a different opinion of. Not that he flips out, but because he can be very invalidating. And it's to the point where I hate not saying something back, and then that's when we get into a disagreement. And other times, he claims I'm too sensitive. Personally, I think it's the fact that I'm just not a rude person and wouldn't do the things to him that he does or says to me. I can give some examples. For instance, this last Christmas we were at his grandparents' house, having Christmas dinner with his immediate family, grandparents, his cousin and his wife, and their kids. His grandfather said, insert my name. I was going to add you on Facebook, but you look nothing like your profile picture. I responded with, thanks, in a not-so-friendly tone because what he said was definitely not a compliment. And it was awkwardly silent. No one said a thing. To be fair, my profile picture was a headshot that I had professionally done 2 years ago. It was a good angle, good lighting, and I had my clip-in extensions in. I'll admit I have gained 15 pounds in the last 2 years, but nothing that's completely appearance changing to where I look like a different person. A few days after that, I brought it up to my fiance, and he claimed he never heard the comment and I must be hearing things. We were all sitting at the table in silence when it was said, and his grandfather was sitting at the opposite end of the table from me, and I heard it just fine. Once I explained that, he said, well, it's true you don't look like that picture anymore. I asked him what that was supposed to mean, and he then proceeded to ask me what I thought it meant. I told him that I felt it was rude for his grandfather to say that. His response was, well, you can think it's rude, but it's the truth. And told me that I also needed to learn how to take a joke. Another example is his lack of empathy. He cares about his family and my family, but when it comes to people he doesn't know, he just doesn't care. For instance, I found out last week that Kate Middleton had cancer. I really like Kate Middleton, and it made me sad to hear about her condition. I told him that she had cancer, and his response was, oh, well, I don't know who she is, so I don't really care. I then told him that wasn't very nice and that I really liked her. His response was, doesn't matter to me. I just thought that was really cold and heartless. He's the devil's advocate. If we're out to dinner and he gets a steak and I get a salad, he'll tell me that my salad looks gross because he doesn't like salads. That might sound stupid, but these little snide comments, which some people might see as being all jokey, don't really feel all that jokey. I don't know if it's because it happens all the time and it's really gotten to annoy me, but I'm not really a jokester, and I'm also not rude. I'm not going to say your shirt looks hideous and your food looks gross. To me, that's rude, and I don't get why it's always necessary to make a comment. If I don't have anything nice to say, I won't say it at all. Him, on the other hand, just does not care. Part of me genuinely does wonder if I'm being too sensitive and maybe I'm bringing it on myself by reacting to what he says. In the beginning, I would just ignore it. But after a while, you start to get sick of it and don't want to just keep your mouth shut anymore. Which is why I'm asking, am I being too sensitive? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You two aren't a good match. When you ask him a question, you get a blunt, but usually honest answer. From your first example, the Facebook picture, it sounds like that's how he was raised. There are people out there who might be a match for him, but it's not you. Comment 2. You're not too sensitive, but frankly, you're going to be unhappy staying with this jerk. No one is happy in relationships with someone who is dismissive and uncaring. Honestly, if you stay, you'll probably end up with a lot of trauma. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking around. A lot has happened since I last wrote. So, the other day, I made a pretty big mistake. I lent my fiance a significant amount of money because he said he was in a tight spot. He promised he'd pay me back as soon as he could. I didn't want to do it, but he has this way of making me feel guilty for not helping out. I thought I was being supportive, but deep down I knew better. I should have seen it coming, but I let it slide, like always. Turns out, he used that money to buy a new gaming system and a bunch of games. When I found out, I was furious. I confronted him and he just shrugged it off, saying he needed to de-stress and that I was overreacting. I felt so walked over, but I didn't do anything about it. I just let him talk his way out of it. And I ended up feeling like the bad guy for even bringing it up. But wait, it gets worse. A couple of days later, I found out he'd been messaging his ex. He said they were just friends, but the messages I saw were definitely not just friendly. I felt so betrayed. I wanted to scream, to throw things, to make him understand how much he hurt me. But I didn't. I just cried and asked him why. He said it was nothing, that I was making a big deal out of nothing. And like a fool, I believed him, or at least I pretended to. The aftermath was just as messy. I couldn't look at him the same way. Every time he touched his phone, I wondered if he was talking to her. It was eating me up inside, but I kept it all to myself. I didn't want another fight. Didn't want to be called sensitive again. And then, as if things couldn't get any more soap opera, his ex showed up at our place. She was angry, saying he'd promised to leave me for her. I was in shock. He denied it, of course, but the look on his face told me everything I needed to know. I felt like my world was crumbling. I couldn't take it anymore. I packed a bag and left. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't stay there. I went to my sister's place. She was shocked to see me, but she took me in, no questions asked. I told her everything, and she was furious on my behalf. She wanted to confront him, to make him pay for what he'd done. But I just wanted to forget. I wanted to move on. It's been a few days now, and I'm still at my sister's. I haven't talked to my fiance since I left. My phone has been blowing up with his calls and texts, but I haven't answered. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like I have a choice. I'm not going to let him walk all over me anymore. I'm done being the doormat. Thanks for reading. My boyfriend cheats with a family friend and lies about being single. So I expose his deceit and watch him lose everything. I, a 21-year-old female, have been going crazy over my boyfriend's, a 24-year-old male, relationship with his family friend who is 17 years old. My boyfriend flew back to his home country when his grandmother passed away and became extremely close with his family friend. I completely understood this at the time because he was grieving, and having support around you is 100% necessary. I have nothing against her, as she has been nothing but a great person towards him while he was there. My issues started when they would text and call each other every single day, even every hour. They would update each other about what they were doing throughout the day. At first, I found this odd, but I thought it was normal. There were a lot of messages in their native language that I didn't try to translate on Google or bother him with questions about. It then escalated to him falling asleep on the phone with her if we had a fight, or if we weren't talking, which made me feel even more uncomfortable. I questioned him about it, and he told me it would be a group call that included another male family friend, but it turned out to be a lie. The phone calls were just under her name and no one else's. I expressed my discomfort, but received no reassurance. Instead, I was told I was crazy and controlling for not wanting him to have a relationship with his family members. Fast forward to 2 months ago, I actually met this family friend when she flew to our country for a wedding. I got to know her and had spoken with her previously because I suspected my boyfriend was being unfaithful while he was in his home country, which unfortunately turned out to be true. We had a deep conversation about their relationship, and I expressed my feelings about it. I asked her what their conversations involved since I didn't understand their language. She told me she thought we were broken up for months, and that he would text her saying he was going on dates and talking to new girls. This was not true, as he would send her pictures without my face claiming he was on a date with the girl, when it was just me. It seems like every time we fought, he would pretend he was single, which I find so bizarre. He would lie to his family friend and confide in her when we had issues. She is much younger than him, and I find it strange that he does this. He would also send her pictures of different girls and their Instagram accounts, saying how hot they were and sexualizing them. He would constantly encourage her to talk to boys and make weird comments about how she should get with boys. I also discovered that he tagged her in an Instagram post with a caption that said, "Tag someone who is beautiful and doesn't know it." It makes me think he has feelings for her, which is concerning since she is supposed to be a family friend. On top of all of this, He would delete all their conversations and claim that he just doesn't like having too many direct messages listed on Instagram. This is strange considering they supposedly have a normal relationship. Please tell me if I am overreacting or if this behavior is truly strange. My boyfriend has a strange relationship with a younger family friend and thinks I am being controlling and weird about it. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I've been wanting to leave him for all the reasons above. I just didn't want to believe this behavior was inappropriate and that maybe I was overthinking all along, and she was just a relative. It hasn't been something I was able to tell my friends without looking like an enabling freak. But after reading all these comments and having my feelings validated, that's my next step, of course. Thank you. Comment 2. Independently from the fact that he's grooming a minor, if you want to only think about your relationship, here it is. He is constantly lying to you, doesn't respect you or your relationship, and he is gaslighting you. You know what you need to do. Please block his sorry butt and move on. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking around to hear more about this mess. So, after finding out all that stuff about my boyfriend and his family friend, things just got weirder. I was already feeling pretty low, but then I caught him in another lie that just made my head spin. He told me he was going out with some buddies from work, but I had this gut feeling something was off. I don't usually do this, but I checked his location through an app we both use, and guess what? He wasn't at any bar with his work friends. He was at a park, and it was pretty late at night. I called him and he didn't pick up, which just made me more anxious. The next day, he acted like nothing happened. When I asked him about the night before, he just shrugged and said they decided to hang out at the park instead of a bar. But I knew he was lying because one of his so-called buddies had posted stories at the bar, and my boyfriend was nowhere to be seen. I was fuming and decided to confront the family friend. I needed to know if she was with him that night. She was taken aback by my call and hesitated before telling me she did meet him. She said he told her he needed a friend to talk to because we had a fight, which was news to me because we hadn't fought that day. I couldn't believe he used our relationship as an excuse to meet up with her behind my back. I felt so betrayed. Here I was, thinking we were building something real, and he was out there playing games. I was done with the lies and the sneaking around. I told him we needed to talk, and I laid it all out on the table. I told him I knew about the park, about the lies, and how he made me feel like I was losing my mind. He tried to brush it off, saying I was overreacting and that nothing happened between them. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I told him it was over. I couldn't be with someone who made me question my sanity, who lied so easily, and who clearly didn't respect me or our relationship. It was tough, but I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I was finally standing up for myself. I blocked him on everything, phone, social media, you name it. I needed to move on, and I couldn't do that with him still in my life. The family friend reached out to me a few days later. She apologized for her part in all of this and said she was cutting ties with him too. She admitted she felt manipulated and realized he was just using her for attention. I appreciated her apology, but I was done with the whole situation. I needed to focus on myself and rebuild the confidence I lost while I was with him. It wasn't easy, but I started to feel better day by day. I learned a lot from this whole ordeal. I learned that trusting your gut is important and that you should never let anyone make you feel like you're the crazy one. I'm not saying I'm completely over it, but I'm getting there, and that's what counts. Thanks for reading. It means a lot to have people to share this with. My boyfriend made AI porn of me and showed his friends. So I exposed his creepy obsession to everyone and watched his reputation crumble. My boyfriend and I have been together for over 8 years now, and so far everything has been great, give or take the rare disagreement or two. But otherwise, very healthy overall. The only major problem I'm starting to see is that when I tell my boyfriend, I don't feel in the mood to have intimacy, or that I'm just wanting to hang out and chat or watch a movie together. He will act like I'm his mother and have just said no to him getting the latest toy at the store. He will kind of huff and puff and get silent, usually ask me what's wrong or why I don't feel like having intimacy, even though I've already given him a reason when saying no to begin with. It's starting to stress me out quite a bit, because I feel like at his age, A woman saying no to him should just be that, minus the tantrums. There's never been a reason I just haven't wanted to not have intimacy with him. That wasn't for a decent reason anyway. Sometimes I'm in chronic pain with my endometriosis, and others, I'm just really exhausted after a long day and just want to sleep. We have a great intimacy life too, so it's not that he's doing anything wrong. We are both adventurous and enjoy each other quite a lot. Lately, though, he has been living on his phone and using AI to put my face onto videos of corn stars. It makes me quite uncomfortable, and we have had conversations about this before, but he does it in secret now, and then pleasuring himself to those, sending them to me and telling me to dress, cut my hair, and wear my makeup certain ways. It's making me feel as if I'm not good enough. I'm usually down to do anything with him, but the fact he's trying to change me as if I'm some kind of robotic woman and will just say yes to him every time. And that's just not realistic. When I do say no to having intimacy with him, sometimes I will wake up a few hours later to him fixing himself in the bathroom next to our bedroom. He comes out and says, "Well, you weren't going to do it, and you got me excited all day." Me getting him excited all day is saying maybe to having intimacy later that night when I leave for work in the morning. So I had to relieve myself so I don't get toxic sperm syndrome, which is absolutely not what's going to happen at all. I'm kind of at a loss as to where to go or what to do now because I've had multiple conversations with him, and bringing up a negative thing to do with our intimacy life is just as bad as saying no to him. And I don't know what to do. Should I be rethinking this relationship or seeking an intimacy counselor? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Sounds like more of a problem for him to manage than yours. Him asking you to change things about you based on his AI intimacy stuff is really weird to me. And he shouldn't be making you feel bad and going in a mood with you because you won't have intimacy. He needs to explore why he gets so pent up and frustrated. But the biggest red flag, in my opinion, is asking you to change your appearance to match his virtual stuff. It seems like he's more interested in satisfying his intimacy drive than you. Comment 2. Please listen when I say that this is just the beginning. People are allowed to be disappointed about not having intimacy, but they are not allowed to question you or make you feel bad about it. All you have to say is no. You don't have to give an explanation or manage his feelings about it. It's going to make it worse, because here soon you won't ever want to have intimacy because he isn't being respectful. Now, for the update, thanks for all the comments on my last post. Things have taken a turn since then. Last week, my boyfriend's sister, who I've always been close with, came over in tears. She found out her husband had been cheating on her. It was a mess. She needed a place to stay, so we offered our spare room. That's when the family drama really kicked off. The next day, my boyfriend's phone was blowing up. His sister's husband was trying to get in touch with her through him. My boyfriend, being the kind of guy who can't say no to family, even the ones who've done wrong, was passing messages back and forth. I told him it wasn't right, but he just shrugged it off. Then, out of nowhere, my boyfriend's mom calls. She's furious. She's blaming his sister for the marriage falling apart, saying she worked too much and didn't take care of her husband. I couldn't believe it. My boyfriend didn't defend his sister either. He just stayed quiet. It made me see a side of him I didn't know existed. In the middle of all this, I found out something else. My boyfriend had been lying to me. He wasn't just using AI to make those videos. He was sharing them with his friends. I was mortified. When I confronted him, he said it was just a joke, that I was overreacting. I felt so betrayed. The next few days were a blur. His sister was trying to figure out what to do about her marriage, and I was trying to figure out what to do about mine. I thought about leaving, but where would I go? And then the surprise dropped. His sister found out she was pregnant. The family was in shock. His mom, who had been so harsh before, suddenly changed her tune. She was all about family now, saying they had to work things out for the baby's sake. My boyfriend was caught in the middle. He started spending more time with his sister, trying to help her sort things out. I was left alone a lot. It gave me time to think. I realized that maybe this was just who he was, someone who couldn't stand up to his family. who didn't respect my boundaries. But then I'd see him with his sister, being supportive, and I'd think maybe there was hope for us. It all came to a head when his sister's husband showed up at our door begging for forgiveness. My boyfriend let him in. They talked for hours. In the end, his sister decided to give him another chance. I couldn't believe it. After everything, she was going back to him. That night, my boyfriend came to me. He said he was sorry for everything, that he'd been a jerk. He promised to delete the videos, to stop sharing them, to respect my wishes. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to think that everything could go back to the way it was. So I said, okay. I said we could try to work things out. But deep down, I know nothing's really changed. He's still the same person. His family is still the same. And I'm still here trying to convince myself that it's all going to be okay. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.